Anyone who knows about Talley must have found his sudden willingness to betray the Sabbat for the Camarilla suspicious, doubtful even. After all, Talley is known to have held an especially strong hatred for the Lasombra anti-tribu, those keepers who chose to not follow the lead of the Amici Noctis and Gratiano de Veronese during the attack on the clan's founder and its aftermath. Still, this former Sabbat Templar and bishop has always been a pragmatic and a problem solver. Talley is kinfolk. That means he carries the blood of werewolf ancestry in his veins, even if he himself never underwent the change. The tribe was once known as White Howlers, but these days refer to themselves as the Black Spiral Dancers, some of the most twisted and wicked servants of evil. Talley, however, had little interaction with this side of his family line, instead being adopted by the human side. Although a bastard, he was taken in and taught all that was required to be in the service of King Edward II of England. He was educated in war, diplomacy, and grace, and found that he had a natural knack for hunting in particular. Edmund Fitzhenry, as was his name at the time, grew accomplished and renowned during his mortal years, and he was also known to occasionally hunt lupines, his cursed blood filling him with an unreasonable hatred for their kind. Edmund fought for King Edward III in the 100 Years' War as well, and led one successful attack on the French after another, claiming large swathes of land for the King of England before he allegedly succumbed to the Black Death. Valdemar, the man who chose to embrace Talley, never offered him a choice. He fed upon the English knight as he was sleeping, and then fed him just enough vitae to make the transition before he set him loose on the inn he was staying at. Talley slaughtered the whole inn, and when he came to his senses, he, perhaps surprisingly, found that he quite liked being an undead. Valdemar's purpose in embracing Talley was to find a child who could lead and command, and the knight fit the bill perfectly. Once his introduction to the undead society finished, Talley happily joined the majority of his clan into forming the Sabbat, and for many years after he would serve as a bodyguard and commander of soldiers for notable Lasombra. Whatever his current master told him to do, he did without question, and he only changed masters if his current one was destroyed, if his contract ran out, or, more and more often with time, if someone else offered a better deal. This earned him the nickname Hound, as many who underestimated him came to question whether he was a man or a dog, so eager to do his master's bidding. Talley saw no issue with this, knowing full well the advantage of being considered harmless or beneath notice, and he survived because his reach never exceeded his grasp. He had no aspirations for power, fame, or status, instead diligently doing what he was hired for and nothing more. It served him well, for as the years went by and his skill and respect from the other Canaanites grew, no one ever tried to replace Talley. After all, he barely had anything to steal, and he did not keep lavish domains or extensive herds. Talley came to be appointed Templar by the Amici Noctis. Although Templars in general serve more as enforcers and bodyguards, Talley's purpose was fairly simple. Carry on as before, but when given the mission to find and dispose of failures and embarrassments to the clan, that would take precedence. Talley disliked being given the title, but he had no complaints about the mission. He would often come to clash with Lucita de Aragon in the 20th century, the two almost perfect foils for each other. Talley was an oft-employed asset of her sire, Moncada, and the two met for the first time in the 1920s, where the Hound had been sent to eliminate a troublesome Canaanite by the name of Carl, whom Lucita held personal interest in. The two came to clash, with Lucita being the victor, barely, and Carl surviving to escape, only to be hunted down and killed in 1934 by Talley. But at this point Lucita had long since lost any interest in the man. In 1999, the two came to fight each other again, Lucita's sire ordering Talley to protect several prominent members of the North American Sabbat movement from his child's attempted assassination. While Talley failed to protect Borges, the Archbishop of Miami, Moncada was pleased with the Templars' work nonetheless, and the Hound was never publicly disgraced for his failures. However, when the cardinal was destroyed in the catacombs of his own church, Talley suffered a temporary crisis of faith and sought out the Bruja Archon, Teobel, who likewise chafed under the leadership of his sect. Seeking reason to remain loyal to a sect that he had begun to lose faith in, he found it. Teobel's argument was merely that his interests, and that of his sects, coincided more often than not, and in those words the Hound felt something similar. Returning to the Sabbat with this realization, Talley took on the title of bishop and continued to serve the Sword of Cain. At least he did so until he began to work with Marcus Vitel, the Prince of Washington, D.C. Vitel, or Sejanus as he was actually named, had been posing as a Ventru for many years, and although technically an anti-tribu, he caught the Hound's interest as the two spoke at length, the prince urging the Templar not to get too mired in the Sabbat's politics. The prince also had a great ambition for the city, working to turn it into a new free state outside the control of both Camarilla and Sabbat, and the idea intrigued Talley. Even so, until the Amici Noctis sent him further instructions, he remained with the Sabbat, working tirelessly to weed out the unworthy and weak from the sect. But then, in 2018, he was given new instructions. No one knows why the Amici Noctis, the de facto leaders of Clan Lasombra, decided to abandon the Sabbat, but they did, and they picked Talley to negotiate the terms of entry into the Camarilla. Although loyal to the Sabbat, Talley had always served the Amici Noctis first, and this had not changed. He left Vitel, who at this point had declared himself emperor, and began the careful process of hand-picking a dozen Lasombra delegates to send to select cities. To Los Angeles, he sent Aurora and Rodrigo, siblings who quickly allied with Vannevar Thomas, who had laid claim to the City of Angels. And to Chicago, the pearl of the Camarilla, he sent Sierra Van Buren and Alexander Malenkov, two of his own childer. Although Malenkov turned out to be more of a liability to the cause than an asset, thanks to Sierra's quick thinking and some surprisingly competent neonates of the city, the Russian was sacrificed as Prince Kevin Jackson sealed the agreement. For each Lasombra to be granted membership in the Ivory Tower, a Sabbat elder needed to be sacrificed. These were terms the Amici Noctis considered acceptable.